Hello, I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. This series of podcasts is aimed at financial planning professionals and also those who are looking to enter the financial planning profession. We will be talking during the podcast about all things Certified Financial Planner certification related, talking to other CFPs around the world, and also we will be dropping in on some new entrants who've just entered the financial planning profession, and we'll be checking up along the way on a regular basis with them to see how they're getting on. I hope you enjoy today's podcast. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. And today we are talking about a very special person, and that is Rachel Howard from Rachel Howard Wealth Management. We're going to be talking about her journey through to gaining her Certified Financial Planner certification. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. So we are going to dive straight in and talk about, your background, how you got into financial planning, and then how you came across the CFP, and most importantly, for lots of our listeners, what your journey was like battling through the case study, as many people have talked about their individual challenges along the way. And you've been very kind to come on and talk about, the things that happened to you along the way, and also give lots of tips and hints and helpful advice to those people who are thinking about or about to embark on the process. So let's start at the very beginning and tell us a little bit about how you got into the financial services profession.
Okay, so Jackie, my career spans over 35 years in the banking industry. And I think the one thing that really led me to the financial planning profession was around my last corporate role that I did. So a directorship with Lloyds, I was managing financial advisors, 168 of them, with area team and risk team and everything else that goes with it. I was very much removed from what was going on at grassroots, but tried to be very hands-on with my profession. So I did manage to spend a bit of time with financial advisors and the importance of their roles and how they helped people, and quickly became very interested in deeper detail as to the differences they were making in customers' clients' lives, and decided that at some point I would embark on obtaining level 4. And so I think that's kind of where it first comes from, and why I would go down that route. So that was about 8 years ago.
Very interesting. And then, so after that, obviously you enjoyed it so much that you decided to persist. And then did you leave that, kind of directorship role and become an advisor, or?
So, as I said, because I was so removed from doing what I really wanted to do and make the difference in the clients' lives, a role like that, you very much end up dealing with people, managing people all the time, and problems, if you like. And I was too removed from doing what I wanted to do, so I decided I wanted my own business, and to do that, I needed to at least get my level 4. So the directorship with Lloyds in bank assurance, I left and decided at that point that I was going to go back to studying. You can probably tell by my voice that I am the older side of studying. So at that time I was late 40s. Decided that I wanted to get level 4, and then really it was the progression from level 4 with the goal that I set myself, that I wanted to achieve a fellowship. So that's where it's come from, a vast array of jobs that I've done in the banking industry. So when I first left school, in fact, it was Lloyds Bank at that time as a cashier, pretty much most management roles, area management roles, national sales manager for a big corporate as well, into the directorship. And that's really, the directorship is the one that really made me think, do you know what, I'm ready now. I want to start my own business and become a financial planner.
So tell us a bit about the challenges that you faced, setting up your business after pivoting into, more directly helping clients. How did you find clients and what were your early experiences like?
Yeah, so I guess I when I started my business, I bought a third of a practice. So I bought clients that I already knew to start my business off. So what I did, I had a plan that I wanted to really kind of love those clients, if you like, do some, good reviews, spend a lot of time with them, understand their needs and what made them tick. And I quickly understood that a certain bank of my clients like golf. And my ladies weren't loved as much either. In the industry that we're in, it's very male dominated. So the ladies needed a bit of loving as well. So what I decided to do was to kick my business off is that I started presenting investment seminars. So I would construct these myself, do it at a nice venue. So golf, as an example, I would do an investment seminar where I would ask my clients to come along and bring guests with them. And they'd have a nice game of golf, and then we'd have a chat and a presentation. So it takes a certain person to get up there and do something like that. I had a lot of experience from my previous roles, so I'd done a lot of presenting over the years, and decided that actually this was much nicer because I could tailor exactly what I wanted to say, use my knowledge, use the level 4 qualification that I'd got, and really just kind of talk to them from the heart about how I wanted to work with people and make a difference, and how I could possibly help them achieve their financial objectives. So just a short, sharp presentation, them get to know me. But the guests that came along to these golf events quickly understood what I was about, what I would do, and it grew from there. So subsequent events would be those guests would then bring along new guests. And that's how it grew. And I still do that now. And my ladies, I do ladies events with them as well. So I pick a really nice venue and I do a presentation about the key topics that are going on, the things that people are interested in, that they want to hear, talk about the markets and talk about the economy. And then literally it is, again, they bring guests along, and that's how I grow my business. So yes, it was very, very challenging, but I had to draw on previous experience of my roles, in the past. So, yeah.
And I think it's great, isn't it, that there are so many transferable skills that we all have. And I think, when I can just about remember starting my first job and gaining a few skills I used to think to myself, well, I can only use it in this job. But actually, there's so many things that you gain through experience in life that you can apply all over the place, in personal life, as well as all sorts of different, business areas, aren't there? And I think having those speaking skills give you that extra confidence, like you say, to be able to get up, because it takes a lot of courage to be able to get up in front of a group of people and speak from the heart, especially because you're kind of, exposing yourself in the nicest sense of the word, to get people to know you, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to be confident. You have to do your homework. You have to know your stuff. As long as you do that, then you'll be fine. Because to be fair, the majority of people will only absorb about 20% of what you say anyway. So that's why I say keep it short, sharp. I pick about 3 different topics that people want to hear about, and it's just enough to put food for thought in their minds that they go away and think, yeah, do you know what? I need to speak to Rachel.
Yeah. Excellent. So then let's talk about your journey to gaining your certified financial planner. So you sat the level 6 exam first, which is part 1 of the 2-part process, isn't it? How
Yes.
did you find that? Did you go on a course for that, or, you got the workbooks and things and delving about in those? How was that experience?
I didn't go on a course for that one. I decided that I would do the studying myself. Of course, at that time, we had the challenges of COVID and the pandemic. So I did, although the business kept going, and I was running the business, I did have more time to do that. So the work study and the workbooks, that is something I literally just worked through myself and broke down into the different sections. And it's a bit having the post-it notes everywhere, the Janet and John style approach of studying, and making sure you're kind of remembering everything. So the post-it notes were all around the house of various different things that I needed to make sure that the analogies that I would use to remember certain sections, certain parts of it, because it's very in depth. Of course, it would be, and practice papers and things like that. So I managed to get hold of some of those, and just literally going over and over and over the work, then to sit the exam.
Great. And obviously you went straight through that one as the little brain box that you are. And then what happened after that? Did you go straight on to get the level 7 case study, or did you pause for a quarter or two?
I paused for a little while. I did pause for a quarter, and that was because I had a few personal issues that were going on. So I decided to do that, and then I went straight in to do the next one, the level 7.
Level 7. So tell us all about that. How did what was the process like? How did you what areas were particularly tricky for you?
Okay, so the first thing that I would say with the level 7, be very quick off the mark to get support and help around you. I think the biggest thing that massively helped me with all of that was what you offer, Jackie, with Lockheed Consultants around the courses that you can do to help you through that.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate the spreadsheets and those lovely spreadsheets.
Yes.
So do not underestimate any of that. And I think it's the planning, being able to plan your time. You have to be quick off the mark off that one. I cannot explain enough around making sure that you break it down into sections, and you plan your time with how much you can allow over that 10-week period of each section, breaking it down and moving on to the next section, not cutting corners, because you literally have to live and breathe it for that amount of time. It is so consuming. Do not underestimate the amount of work that goes into it. So, the one thing that massively helped me was getting booked onto a course with yourself pretty quickly. And doing as much work before you get onto that course as well with you. So you've got pre-learning that you can do, etc., etc. Just get your head straight into it. 10 weeks sounds a long time, but it's not.
Yeah, it goes by in a flash, doesn't it?
Totally,
and when you get into the weeds of the whole thing, and that process of I think it's particularly tricky with the level 7 case study, which is what makes it level 7, is dealing with more than one client objective at the same time, isn't it? Because I think in your case study, there were 4 different objectives that you're grappling with all at the same time. And I think some of our discussions, it was interesting how we were discussing about how, that unintentional impact of spending money in one area, and then all of a sudden, you think, oh, yikes, right, actually, I've just made... it's had an impact on the next area that I was going to look at, and then kind of question ourselves whether it's the first bit of advice we've given or we intend to give is actually the right one. And you can spend quite a lot of time going round and round in all of that, can't you?
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of research that is needed on lots of different areas, and very often you think, oh yeah, do you know what, I've got the wind beneath my wings, I'm doing really well here, and then all of a sudden something will crop up and you'll think, oh, I didn't think about that, and the impact of that have on the other areas that you're looking at as well. And all of a sudden you've got to change your spreadsheets, or you've got to change the direction that you're going in, or you need to input something else into the spreadsheets because there's tax changes that you'd forgotten about, or that now applies that didn't apply.
Yep.
Exactly that. It's that knock-on effect. Do not underestimate the time that all of that takes.
Yeah. And I think, it's fair to say that as most people, we spent on the course, we spent quite a long time grappling with spreadsheets, didn't we? And everybody's the same. And then, there's this kind of urge that you kind of need to feel that you want to write something up or start writing a plan, because you kind of think that you have an idea of what the solutions might be. And like you say, sometimes that ends up being a red herring and can kind of distract you, can't it? You got to trust the process and let those numbers do the talking.
Yeah, totally. I think also another good thing is if you're getting just too bogged down in one particular area with the detail, sometimes it's good to say, do you know what, I'm just going to take a couple of hours away or an afternoon off, go and take the dog for a walk or whatever you do, just breathing space away, or, a good night's sleep, and then literally just pick it back up refreshed. And sometimes you look at things and you think, yes, of course it's that. Why didn't I see that?
Yeah.
I think you can get very hooked up on the detail in one particular section, and before you know it, the time's going on.
Yes.
And you've not even started another section,
Yes. And then Jackie's saying to you, right, now you should be here. And you go, yikes, I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so going through all of that process, do you have a feel of roughly how long it took you to get, from the start to the very end of passing?
Oh, well in excess of 200 hours. Well in excess of that. I think I'm probably more of a person that I'm more of a planner, and I like to give myself more time than perhaps the average person would. I like to check things, and I was running out of all that kind of time, even though I supposedly allowed myself time. So well in excess of 200 hours, yeah, easily.
Yeah. It's quite a mammoth task, isn't it? To, get through all of that. And then to, by the time you've got to the end of your spreadsheets, you're kind of running out of steam, and then you've still got to write everything up. And then when you write everything up, you still got to write it up to your own satisfaction to say what you want to say. And then all that kind of seemed to take longer when you're already kind of running out of energy and running out of time.
Yeah, do you know what? I think that's the one part of it that I did underestimate, is that the write-up and how long that would take. And I thought I should have allowed more time for that. And also the cutting of the spreadsheets, you'll end up with loads of spreadsheets, and then you have to pick out the ones that will need to show everything that you need in your particular plan. And even the cutting of the spreadsheets and making sure that they're readable, they're the right size. Do not underestimate any of that. You can just spend a day literally making sure you've got the right spreadsheets and they're being cut into the right part of your plan, because everything has to be done in a particular way in a Word document. You can't go over your page count. It has to be done in a particular font. You have to be able to read your spreadsheets.
Yes.
So do not underestimate any of that. And the write-up. And sometimes you can get to the write-up and you can think, oh God, I need to put something else in, or I need to do that. And then you think, well, if I do that, then it's going to impact on another section. No, I'm going to leave it out. Or no, then you sleep on it and think, no, I need to put it in. It's like, just do not underestimate the time that it takes to do the write-up.
Yeah. And so looking back now, what you sent your first submission in. What happened?
Oh, okay. So my first submission, I didn't pass it first time. Uh,
Yes,
so
but
my first submission. So are you referring to the bit where the examiner didn't read one section properly?
yes, well, and I think,
Yeah.
as I recall, you got 50% in two sections and you need 51 to pass.
Yeah, so there was a couple of hiccups that I had. So I literally it was 50 marks in yeah, it was a couple of sections that I had, and I needed 51. So you can't get closer than that, and you're sort of kicking yourself, but hey
Yeah,
ho,
I was nearly coming round to, to do
yeah,
that as
press
well.
on, press on. So I had an ad hoc chat with you that kind of, to put things to perspective as you do, and just revisited those particular areas. I did the resubmission for that, and that in itself can be quite time consuming, because I decided actually I'm not just going to do a bit of rework that just takes me over the line. I'm going to have a real good go at this and push. As I said, I have personal issues going on in the background, so to get where I got, I was pretty happy with myself anyway. So it was just that final push for me to get over the line, but I did over and above. I'll share with everybody that the marks came back and I failed in one particular section. I still had 50 marks instead of 51, yet I'd done all the rework, and it's like, oh, what's happened there? So I challenged it back, because I felt sure, you get this gut feel with how you think you've done, and I felt sure that I'd done everything. And there was one area that came back, but I had 100% in, which I thought, gosh, that's almost like unheard of. How can I get that in one area, and the rework that was submitted came back and I still only have 50 marks? So I challenged it back to the CISI. And 3 weeks of suspended, not knowing what was going on. They re-looked at my work, and I ended up having a letter of apology from the examiner, saying that they didn't read through all of my rework and decided that I'd scored 89 points in that section and not 50. So in actual fact, I had passed. Yeah, I had passed that. So it took my overall mark. I think my overall mark was in the late 70s, 80s. So which is absolutely fine. But yeah, I had that 3 week period of not knowing.
Yes.
Was a little bit stressful, I have to
Yeah.
say. But yeah, so it wasn't unexpected the first time round, because, as I said, personal issues and everything else going
Yeah.
on. I
Not
kind of
going.
felt quite pleased with where I got. But yeah.
Yes. Well, I can certainly remember hearing from you that you'd got 50% in those two sections. And I was like, I'm going to come around there and give you a talking to. But you were so close to passing. But I think, your journey highlights that, I think it's still, obviously it's achievable. You've achieved it. And actually your determination, you knew that you'd made those changes, and that mistakes do happen. We're all human, I guess, and for whatever reason that section was missed, which was a real shame, because obviously it left you high and dry for those 3 weeks while you were waiting, but got the right result in the end, which I think is the most important thing out of all of this. And so now, looking back on all of that journey, has it changed the way at all that you approach clients giving advice? Obviously that was very fictitious in the artificial world, and now giving advice to, real people, continuing to give advice to real people. How has any of that experience gaining your CFP changed your views or approach at all?
Oh, without a doubt, in terms of the knowledge, the depth, breadth of knowledge when I go and see clients, and how you approach things. Yeah, totally. It's a huge challenge, but the difference that it is made with my clients, business levels, everything, absolutely. It's just the confidence as well, that when you've kind of got that badge, that people recognize that actually you should know what you're talking about. It is that badge that, the events, as an example, in my business, when I present in the events, they can see what I've done, they can see the work that I've done, and the confidence when you're talking about things. And, it comes from the heart. And the presenting, I get a little bit, I always get a little bit when I'm going to stand up and talk, but, it's fine, because actually you do know that you know it, and you do know that what you're talking about. So, the confidence has just been unbelievable.
Good.
And the fact that people recognize what you've done and what you've achieved. So your business levels naturally will increase because of what you've done. Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's great to hear. And so we're nearly out of time already, Rachel, but I just wanted to close by asking you one last question, and that is, could you give us some advice to all of those people who are thinking about starting the CFP journey, or maybe they're about to do it in November, which is the next window, or maybe in 2024, making that on their business plan to achieve that for next year? What advice would you give them?
I would say, so first of all, make sure that you get some support on hand, and whatever that looks like, I would 100% recommend your services, Jackie.
Thank you.
With what you offer, I can absolutely categorically say, without a doubt, I would not have passed without your support. I think that the courses are they're good. You can start courses, revisit everything that you do, all the dreaded spreadsheets, if you're getting stuck with any of that, you can revisit it all, because it's all there for you to have access to and beyond with all of that. So if you don't get past first time, you've still got access to all of that. Revisit all of that. I would not have done it without that support. Make sure that they maximize on the one-to-one sessions with you as well. I did that several times, and that was extremely helpful. Secondly, I'd say plan your time. The minute you receive your case study, just plan out your time of those 10 weeks and start from day one. Don't leave it and think, oh, I'm fine, it's 10 weeks. Do not underestimate the time that it takes. And I think make sure that you do not cut corners on any section either. So you have to score across the board. As we know, it's a minimum of 51 across every section. Do not cut corners on any of those sections, or do not leave one section to the last minute, and then you've only got so many hours to kind of put together inheritance tax planning, as an example. Just make sure you plan that. Do not cut corners. And then I would say, take time, if you can, plan time in to take a bit of a breather. Take a bit of a breather, if it's a day, if it's a weekend, if you can afford that time, just to kind of get a bit of a clear head on things. Make sure you have your sticky notes and everything around the house. So if something suddenly comes into your head, you need to write it down, do that, but just take a breather so that you can then collaborate all of your notes, go back fresh, and look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. And that massively helps, because you can just get so drawn into the detail in one particular section, and before you know it, you've lost hours which you could have spent and moved on to another section.
Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences, all the highs and lows of everything, but also, more importantly, lots of great tips and advice for anybody looking to begin their journey to become a certified financial planner. Thanks very much for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Jackie.
It's really interesting, isn't it, to listen to different people who have different experiences of gaining their Certified Financial Planner certification, or maybe developing the financial planning profession at large. If you know anybody who you think might be interested in listening to any of these podcasts, then please do pass on our details. That's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. See you again soon. Bye for now.